What's up, everybody? Thanksgiving week for me personally, one of my most favorite weeks of the year. Recording 4 o'clock on a Tuesday, guys. I just wrapped. I was just telling Jason, I just wrapped a pretty lengthy 30B6 deposition in a negligent security case. So, excuse me, I've got what they call it, noodle brain right now. So, might need y'all to do even more heavy lifting than usual. But look, alas, we're here. The show must go on. Another week ticks off the calendar. Another UGA ass kicking, another weekend full of smiles. And for those keeping track at home, that is 38 regular season wins in a row. That is 28 victories in a row. That is 3 straight years of going 8-0 in the SEC. And it puts an end to Tennessee's cute little 14-game home winning streak with a beatdown of those nasty Volunteers from Tennessee. Hot damn, it sure is fun. Big Red, Big Letter 99, how about them?
It was awesome. I was in Savannah this past weekend for a soccer tournament. Watched the Dogs kick the Volunteers' ass sitting in the lobby of the hotel, and then we proceeded to go to the local Bolero for the second half. And so I was consuming bowling alley beers, bowling alley chicken fingers, and just watched the Dogs just take the Vols out to the woodshed and give them the beating they deserved.
Josh, for Noodle Brain, you rattled off some numbers there. That was pretty impressive.
I wrote them down pre-show production.
6 piece, buddy. More impressive, though, are those numbers in themselves. We had the November gauntlet of Mizzou, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. And at the beginning of the season, this game at Tennessee looked like probably our most difficult game all season. And it turned out to be a glorified scrimmage. The Dogs did what the Dogs do and spotted the team 7 points. This was a unique one in the sense that they got it in 4 seconds, and then they barely scored again. This is what we do. We were sitting around watching the game at my house. Kevin Shea, Garrett Nail, and Jenny Nail were here. And we all said, look, they're going to come down. They're going to score a touchdown. We'll end up kicking a field goal, be up 10-7, and the throttling will begin. To start, though, I want to give Kevin Shea a shout out. He had predicted a 42-10 victory of the Dogs. So very good prediction. And just like I said, a glorified scrimmage. There was nothing that we couldn't do. And I'm excited to get into the details of it.
Yeah, listen, Kirby was great when his press conference. He said, I just told Schumann, let's go ahead and let him get it over with and score on the first play. It just goes back to my theory of rope-a-dope. We're giving these guys a false sense of security, lulling them to sleep, and then just bam, popping them in the mouth and kicking their ass.
You know, I thought about you too when that happened. The rope-a-dope, and Kirby's quote was priceless. But what's so cool about being a Georgia fan is how freaked out would we have been 2 years ago with that opening play that went like that? We'd have been like, here we go again, hands in the face, as some of our friends like to do, get the Tennessee faithful all in a frenzy. And the game would have gone sideways very quick, and we would have pointed, well, we just would have made that play. I didn't have 1 ounce of worry when that happened. I was watching my brother's house. He was in the room, but not in front of the TV. He was making a drink, and he's like, what just happened? I'm like, dude, come look at this. And he's like, whoa, that's not good. And that was kind of all we said about it. And then Tennessee proceeded to score 3 more points on a, end of half kind of garbage field goal. So complete ass whipping, spot in the first 10 seconds, and that's it.
Have you seen the clip going around of the 75-yard touchdown run? And then it shows like fireworks going off, Tennessee storming the field. Basically, like that was their celebration.
It reminded me of when they celebrated their national championship season last year by going 6-0. Right? They started producing a book commemorating the year. Same thing. That the early celebrators.
Well, there's a lot that I found amazing about that game. One is McConkey obviously wasn't 100%. I think he played like 6 snaps, didn't play. Ra Thomas caught a pass early on and then went out with an injury. Obviously, we still have Brock coming back from his tightrope, but he looks to be about as 100% as he can be. And then you have guys like Marcus Rosenby, Jack Saint step up. I think we can affectionately call this game this past weekend the Dylan Bell coming out party, where he had a huge game. He passed for a touchdown, caught a touchdown. And what was even more impressive, he had a catch in the second quarter on the sidelines over a corner who was covering him really, really well. And the only thing better than that catch was the throw that future NFL quarterback Carson Beck made. That guy put some film on tape this past weekend, that I quite frankly think could get him elevated to be a first-round draft pick this year. He was unbelievable.
The theme to me this game is next man up, really when needed. Dylan Bell, I think, was the Jay Stein player of the game, as I saw on Instagram, and well deserved. He threw for a touchdown, he caught a touchdown pass, and he ran for a touchdown pass. But he stepped up most importantly when Ladd wasn't able to go. And Ladd's going to be gone after this season, and Dylan Bell will be back. And he looks like a very, very suitable replacement. He looks like a very, very good future NFL player as well, particularly with those pythons on his arm. In the CBS postgame conference when he was on the field, he is just absolutely jacked. He looks like a Randall Cobb. He kind of looks like Randall Cobb from a body standpoint. Plays like a Cordarrelle Patterson. But yeah, definitely player of the game was Dylan Bell. Carson Beck, I totally agree, Laurence. The throws that he made are just NFL throws. The throw of the game to me was the pass he threw to Brock, where Brock turned around and it was in his grill the second he turned around. And that was a 35-yard throw. Just continuing the theme of next man up. You mentioned Marcus Rosery-Jack saying he's been excellent all season and lunch pail guy, right? But CJ Allen looked fantastic again on defense. I really like Pop, and it sucks to lose someone like that, particularly going into the stretch run, and hopefully he'll be back. But when you have someone step up and fill that void, and the drop off is, negligible. I mean, how good are you?
CJ Allen is the next dude, right? I mean, he is the next dude, the Roquan Smith and the Kobe Dean. Insert your linebacker. I mean, I haven't broken down the film to look exactly the differences, but my God, could our defense get any better the last 2 weeks? And he's not missing a beat. So again, we just reload next man up. I love that. Carson Beck, I don't need to say what you guys already said, other than the guy just wows me. And on third down, he just do we not get third down conversions anymore? I feel like every single time it's third down, we're picking it up. Every single time we're on defense, we're shutting it down. That to me, that's the biggest differences in these games now. It's like third down, let's go. Cannot believe y'all haven't brought up Dolly Parton's name yet. I cannot believe we're 10 minutes in and her name hasn't been brought up yet. My goodness, man, there was lots of text messages flying around about her, huh?
Hey, listen, for 77 years old, Dolly still brings it. The biggest flaw she has is she was rolling out there and Orange singing Rocky Top on a broken microphone. Now, again, this goes, I think, to the difference between a Georgia production versus a Tennessee production. You think Kirby Smart would trot out, whoever our famous country music singer is, Gans, I'm sure you know off the top of your head who that may be. Travis Tritt, probably. You think Travis Tritt would get out there and his microphone wouldn't work? It was just a joke, but Dolly was looking good. So count me in. I'm on Team Dolly.
I'm having a brain fart. It's Garth's wife right now. Why can't I think of Garth?
Trisha Yearwood.
Trisha Yearwood. That's our Dolly Parton. Though Dolly looks better than Trisha Yearwood. I'll say that. My favorite part of that whole thing.
He looks better than Travis Tritt too. So we'll take that.
He's got a. My favorite thing, I'm going to leave that alone. My favorite part about the Dolly Parton episode or appearance was Peyton, who I do really like, escorting her out there, and just the shitty look on Peyton's face. More about the Vols play than about Dolly's performance was priceless to me. Peyton, that guy's everywhere. I saw him Saturday, I saw him Sunday, I saw him Monday.
I was like, can we discuss that guy's? I mean, he's the hardest working man in Hollywood. He's everywhere you turn. That's where that guy's at. So good on him. Would y'all consider this Tennessee game, a trap game that people talk about? Because I heard that a little bit. I'm not sure it was or wasn't, but going back to what I said earlier about being concerned, like I don't worry about trap games anymore either. Kirby gets these guys ready no matter what it is. He said there was a crappy week of practice on Tuesday. He got it fixed by Wednesday, and by Saturday, all systems go.
We don't have trap games anymore. And I don't mean that to be cocky. I mean that in the sense that Kirby controls everything. I believe that actually Kirby might control the weather, as discussed earlier.
Yeah, I don't see it as a trap game, but almost more than a letdown game coming off the big Ole Miss game at home with game day. But to that point, Kirby has conditioned these guys mentally. It goes back to the Kirby culture and everything he's built, right? He knows that we have a bullseye on our target each and every week, and he has these guys ready to play. Now, some may say that we play to the level of our competition. Others say it's a long con. Like there's certain games where maybe teams haven't deserved the right for us to put our hobnail boot squarely up their rear end. But I believe this Tennessee game's been circled on the calendar due to the vast amount of crap that they've been talking since we beat them in Athens last year. So we were ready to go. Those guys are dirty. I mean, for them to do something allegedly like spit in Brock Bowers' face, I've never seen Brock Bowers get unhinged like he did on the bottom of that pile when Delp had to get him over. Brock Bowers is usually the most even-keeled person on the planet. Like it was dirty pool, and I'm glad we had them leaving the stadium at the end of the third quarter.
It's
I
like
think you can
snap.
remove the word you can remove the word allegedly about that. That happened, no question.
Yeah, it's like your golden retriever snapping on someone. It doesn't happen. Everyone's lovable family pet that's just a beautiful boy and runs around the yard, fetches all the balls, and then he takes off the neighbor's arm. That doesn't happen unless the neighbor provokes him.
So, of course, the 3 hours watching the game is my most favorite, content to consume Georgia football wise. But I've gotten really into Kirby's post game presser and watching, the 15, 20 minutes of it. The guy answers every question perfectly. I love his cadence. I love his accent. I love everything about the way he describes what's going on. He's always giving credit to other people, to the coaches, the plan, to the players. And you guys watching that too?
So there was two clips that stuck out to me. One was right before the game, the video of him standing in the tunnel with Dylan Bell, and he was just looking around the stadium, taking it all in, as calm, cool, and collected as you can. He leaned over to Dylan Bell and he said, "I got you. I love you." And then Dylan Bell proceeded to have the game of his life. And then after the game, to your point, Josh, he said, he's got to get good kids that buy in. They don't care about individual credit. And I mean, and that is such the perfect thing to say, because that is a direct shot to what all of the 5-star recruits that are out there that are chasing NIL deals. He said, if you get the kids that don't care about individual credit and kids that want to win, this is the place they need to be. He is a perfect press conference.
Well, just real quick, we do play the NIL game. We just play it a little bit differently than some of the others, in the sense that it's used more for attention than it is for alluring prospects there. But Kirby has gotten significantly better. He wasn't always that good at this. I don't know if you guys remember the first couple of seasons, particularly 2016. He was not good in press conferences. He used to get really chippy with reporters. He thought he was Nick Saban then, and he didn't really have anything to back it up at that point. So kudos on him for getting better, evolving. He's never, everything that he says is well thought out. He's not going to give you any bulletin board material. He's not going to put anything out there that doesn't need to be out there. He'll give you just enough. But yeah, everything is very well thought out.
So the rest of the country, look, unbeatens remaining unbeaten. The upset just hasn't fallen yet. We used a ping pong analogy last week to discuss Big Lair Sucker Bet, which I'm sure we'll get to, but I'll use a tennis analogy this week that just says all the top teams just keep holding serve, right? I mean, every week they just keep holding serve. We keep waiting for one of them to lose. As of November 21st, day of recording, there's still 5 unbeaten teams vying for 4 spots. Of course, one of that will take care of itself, but I don't know, guys. Like, we all like watching chaos as long as it doesn't involve Georgia. This year just hadn't really happened.
There's some options. It's going to happen, right? I kind of went through this earlier. So just start off with Michigan and Ohio State. Obviously, we don't even need to go into that. Something's going to happen this weekend. Washington, and I know Oregon does have one loss, but let me back up for a second. There's 8 teams still alive in the playoff hunt right now, right? There's Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, Washington, Oregon, FSU, and on the outside looking in, Texas, right? Michigan, Ohio State, one of them takes care of themselves. Georgia, Alabama, most likely one of them takes care of themselves. Washington, Oregon, most likely one of them takes care of themselves. Florida State probably has the easiest path in, as we talked about last week, except that they had a horrible injury to their quarterback, and they've been really lucky to get some of their wins. Do I think they're going to lose to Florida? No, but then they've got to play Louisville. I believe Louisville the week after. Texas, it would be good to see them lose, right? They're not going to lose to Texas Tech. I don't think. It's in Austin, but then I believe they'll probably play Oklahoma State, right? So it's going to take care of itself. It typically does. But it's going to be interesting, right, to see over the next, call it 2 weeks.
Well, we talked a lot about parity, and I think there is more parity across the landscape of college football, but the top teams just aren't. They're not losing. The upsets aren't there, as you discussed. What I find to be interesting, Gans, and maybe a little bit different than what you're saying, is Texas on the outside looking in. And let's just play this through now. I think Georgia beats Alabama, but let's just say Alabama wins. but you have the Michigan-Ohio State winner. You have FSU wins out and Washington wins out. You really have Alabama getting in over a one-loss Texas team, even though Texas beat them. And granted, the eye test, Alabama would be favored again. Alabama, past the eye test, is the better team. But look, head-to-head has to matter in the eyes of the committee. And they would have to leave out a one-loss SEC championship team. No, they have to.
I get where you're coming from. But I think that, first of all, that's their nightmare scenario, the playoff committee. That's so, which maybe bodes well for Georgia and the Zebras in the SEC championship game. Hopefully, we don't need them, and I don't think we will. We'll get into that later. But that's the nightmare scenario. I totally agree with you. Head-to-head should absolutely matter. They came into T-Town and dominated Alabama. I don't see a one-loss SEC team being left out, regardless. But guess what, Laurence? There ain't going to be a one-loss SEC team.
That's right. Well, listen, I think Oregon takes care of business against Washington. In fact, Washington could trip up in the Apple Cup this weekend. It wouldn't surprise me to see Florida State. Now, you're right. I don't think they're going to lose to Florida, considering, and now both of them on their second-string quarterback. Louisville probably takes them out, and then Ohio State, Michigan, they'll knock each other out. But listen, you're right. The committee is firmly in they're wearing red and black. They're cheering for Georgia. They don't want to have to deal with
dogs. My Alabama friends, I've provided that exact scenario, Laurence, you just laid out, and they refuse to acknowledge it as a possibility. And I agree with you. Head-to-head has to matter. And their response, of course, is, well, what's the incentive for teams like Alabama to even schedule a team like Texas, right? Like, you can only hurt yourself. Play someone like Michigan did, and you're 11-0, 12-0, and then it doesn't even matter. So I get it.
Talk to Auburn about that. See how that worked out for those guys.
We've gone back and forth on the strength of schedule for years, but I'm with you. Like, head-to-head on the field has to matter. The FSU thing is going to be super interesting, because if they do find a way to end up 13-0, win the ACC, I think that they will get in. But the committee, they might look at it and say, unless this new quarterback comes in and, blows doors off the next 2 weeks, they're going to say, really, with this backup quarterback, are they worthy of a top 4 spot over, let's say, a 12-1 Georgia that dominated everybody but lost to Alabama? I don't know. Like you said, these are scenarios they're just hoping they don't have to deal with.
So, Josh, that's a great point. So I don't think they will. I just don't see them. First, Georgia's not going to lose, but I just don't see a undefeated ACC conference champion being left out, even though they are on their second-string quarterback, who could be the next, Chris Weinke, for all we know there. But I'll take it a step further, right? The way I see this finishing out, right? This is just my prediction for the final rankings. I've got Georgia number 1. Okay, this is not this week, not tonight coming out, but after championship game week, right? I've got Georgia number 1. I've got Michigan number 2. I've got Washington number 3, and I've got Florida State number 4, which would just be a dandy for the Dogs.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
We got screwed last year taking the second best team in the semifinals. We should have had TCU, and give us the cupcake in the Sugar Bowl, which, by the way, would work out perfect, because you'd have Georgia, Florida State in the Sugar Bowl. You'd have Michigan, Washington, the last year of the Pac-12, and the Big Ten playing in the Rose Bowl. That's their dream scenario.
That is how ABC wants to draw this thing up.
Hashtag me too. You mentioned Auburn, so let's just come out and say it. Officially a basketball school, right? They lost to a team that, New Mexico, they paid them $1.8 million to come in and beat them by 3 scores.
The New Mexico State Aggies, coached by Jerry Kill, came in for $1.8 million and beat them by 3 touchdowns. And on top of that, just to rub some salt into the wounds of our friends on the plains, their former quarterback, who's now 38 years old, is currently the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. So they got that going for them. It's hard to be an Auburn fan. Hey, but listen, I like Bruce Pearl, so good luck on the hard court this year.
I guess Bo Pix is above Jaden Daniels. What are they, 1A or something on the odds right now? Yeah,
I do love.
I'm not gonna give a Heisman. I don't know. I've stopped following. The Heisman means nothing to me anymore, unless one of our guys is in New York. Carson Beck should be in New York. Just to circle back, one quick thing I'm going to say on Carson Beck. The one knock on him is I got a bad feeling this is the last season we're going to see him in red and black. The guy, he's a first-round NFL draft pick, I think, in 2024.
We said this last week. Give me him tomorrow for the Falcons, and I will gladly say thank you. The throws he made, these receivers turn around, boom, ball's right there, on a rope, on a line.
In between 3 guys, he is dialed in right now. Again, so my 4 today, as of today, my playoff four today is UGA, Ohio State, Michigan, FSU. My predicted Final Four, as we sit here on November 21st, is Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, Florida State. So I think the Ducks avenge their earlier season loss and get that third spot.
Yeah, fair enough. Mine this week is very similar to yours: Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and I think Washington. I think that the committee might knock Florida State down, have them at 5 just because of the Travis injury. And but yeah, I mean, look, this will all play itself out, but it's going to be fun.
That's why I have Washington jumping all the way up to 2. I think they're at this point a better team than Michigan, Ohio State, and I have FSU at 5 as well. My other favorite moment from the SEC. Our friends down in Gainesville, victims of the 4th and Grantham in their loss to Missouri. How does that happen, guys? It was 4th and 17, and sure enough, they pick up the first down, go ahead to score the winning touchdown.
You may want to try to cover the best receiver on the field who they're going to go to in a 4th and 17 to pick that up. But things just get worse for Sunbelt Billy. I think he was quoted in a press conference this week of saying, like, yeah, any team out there could beat us. I mean, could you imagine those words coming out of Kirby Smart's mouth in a press conference?
Not so good. You know who's not picking up 4th and 17s? The Iowa Hawkeyes or anybody who they're playing. The under hit again, huh?
What was it? It was I think the under this past week was a little bit higher than prior weeks, but I still think it was below 30.
And well, 28.5 or 30 or something.
Yeah.
Again, that's like, to me, the most compelling, sideshow of the entire season. They're going to play in the championship with the Big Ten, aren't they?
I believe they would. I believe they are. I believe it'll be the winner of Michigan, Ohio State versus Iowa, which might be the most boring game in the history of football since the forward pass was invented. I'm not sure it's actually invented for that game though.
So let me ask you all about James Madison. For the first time, they will make their way onto the show. We wanted to give it too much time, but the scene for College Game Day was pretty awesome. I didn't really know they had this whole appeal process with the NCAA and trying to get bowl eligible and made a whole stink and got rejected, and then they go out and they lose anyway. But can someone summarize that whole thing for me in like 30 seconds or less?
I'll defer to you, Laurence. I'm not up to speed on it.
Yeah, I was gonna defer to you, Jason, because I did not watch any game day. I saw it was at James Madison. Quite frankly, didn't really care. The only thing I did find out today is that not only were they were ranked in football, but the James Madison basketball team actually was ranked as of last week. So I guess it's a good time to be a Duke. Is that what they are, the Dukes?
Right. In fact, Robert Unell and I have actually spent the night in whatever town that is in Virginia on a road trip one time. And we went out to a few of the local bars. We had a good time there. But yeah, my takeaway was they let 14 people kick the field goal. None of them could hit. And then it was the Jonas Brothers and Bailey Zimmerman singing together.
BZ. Didn't y'all have to stop at a Walmart and get some new jeans or something in James?
That was there. That was in that town. I believe it's Harrisonburg. Bob and I went shopping on a Friday evening at about 8:00. I think we had Budweisers in our hand while we walked through Walmart buying clothes because our dumbasses were driving to New York and we had everything locked up in the back of a U-Haul and a trailer behind it. We forgot that our bags were back there.
Weren't y'all driving that small Infiniti of yours?
No, that was being towed behind that we drove to New York.
I knew that Infiniti was involved somehow. All right, we got rivalry week coming up. Clean old-fashioned hate here in Georgia. I always love kind of refreshing myself with the different names that these games give themselves. I don't know. Any of these games jump out to y'all? I mean, obviously we want to spend time on Michigan, Ohio State, but just pure rivalry games. Anyone that y'all are always interested in?
Now, Ole Miss. I like Ole Miss, Mississippi State. The Egg Bowl. It's on Thanksgiving evening. By that point, I'm usually pretty good and lubricated, and it's always a fun one to watch. I mean, Penn State, Michigan. I'm sorry, Michigan, Ohio State. I was thinking Penn State, Michigan State. Obviously, has significant impacts on the college football playoffs. So, while not thoroughly excited to watch it, I will. You've got Oregon State, Alabama, Auburn. Yeah, usually the Iron Bowl is usually great. This year, it's just bleh.
The spread for the Iron Bowl this year, Auburn is plus 15. It feels a little bit low to me, Jason.
Weird things happen there, though, Laurence, in the
And
Iron Bowl.
it's in Jordan Hare too, correct? So you never know. I like the Oregon State game, also known as the Civil War. Was it Washington State is the Apple Cup. You got the Egg Bowl, but the best name for any rivalry game out there is in fact Georgia versus Georgia Tech in clean old fashioned hate. This year it'll be down on North Avenue. Planning on taking one of my children, possibly two. Josh, I know you're planning on going with Graham as well. It'll be the first time it's been under the lights in downtown Atlanta in quite some time. Last time I remember going to a Georgia Tech game at night. A friend of ours, I'll let you name the name, Josh, if you're so inclined, but he smuggled in a 12-pack of beer in his jeans. We sat in the second or third row on the around the 10, 15-yard line, and Tim Wansley picked off a pass and took it to the house the other way. It was a great game. So I'm looking forward to getting back down there and watching a Georgia takeover of the joke by Coke.
True story. We drank all 12 of those beers too, between all of us. Funny things always happen at that game. I mean, I remember sneaking into one of the main presidential boxes. Me and Sean Traub, eating a nice feast during the game. It's something always funny happens. I went to look at tickets this weekend, and I'd forgotten there's only 100 section and a 200 section there. I just assumed there was more seating, but there's really not. So we'll be down there. Do we really hate Georgia Tech? I mean, I know that's the name. It's been there forever. I don't hate them. I mean, feel kind of bad for them at times.
They hate us.
After Saturday night, you will hate them. They do not. You will hate. They will cuss your kid out. I don't like going to games there. The only reason I do is because it's 15 minutes from my house. But for a school of engineers, it is such a shitty stadium. You'd think they'd be able to do something. It's I don't know. They do sell beer there now, so don't stuff any in your Levi's. You'll be good. But yeah, I don't like going to games there. But I don't know. You guys are starting to convince me.
What's the deal with their, when you said Budweiser, you said it all. It's so lame. Like, where does that even come from? Why is that a Georgia Tech thing? Do we know the history behind it? They say
they got a goddamn jalopy. Larry, you probably know about the song.
I don't know the impetus or the origin story behind the Budweiser song, but it is corny. The stadium for your point, Gans, for a bunch of engineers is a very poorly designed stadium. It's easy to get in and out of. We got some buddies down there, usually have a good time. And I believe the only time that we actually hate Georgia Tech is the once in a decade time that they pull off a victory, and then you don't hear the end of it for the rest of the year until we have to go back and beat them with Southside Steve's daddy 51-7 or whatever the score may be. But I enjoy the game. I find it to be fun. Listen, Georgia Tech, Brent Key has got them bowl eligible. Haynes King is a serviceable quarterback. We get to see our buddies Don Blaylock and Brent Scyther and old offensive analyst Buster Faulkner. So there'll be some familiar faces out there. But I do like the Dogs minus the 24. I think we cover the number pretty easily. Should be a good game on Saturday night.
So I like that. I like the minus 24 also. I got 38-13. I know Kirby hates them. But I think he calls the Dogs off a little bit in the sense that he wants to get back to Athens with no injuries and prep for Alabama. I think it's going to be just surgical. I think, you're going to see a lot of people playing in the second half. But go in ho hum. I'm assuming they start 7-0 and then they somehow squeak out another 6 points throughout the course of the game. That is Tech.
I'm going to co-sign everything you just said, Jason. That's exactly where my head's at. I'm sitting here flipping through the wikis, seeing the last time Georgia Tech beat Georgia. Do y'all know offhand when that was?
It was Kirby's first year, 28-27 in 2016.
2016, yeah. Right.
You're all smart fellas. And then they beat us in 2014 as well. So there was a moment in time.
That was Rick. That was the squib kick.
That was a
squib kick. Yeah, squib kick game. Yep.
Yeah. The scores since then have been brutal. I mean, the closest number has been 3+ scores. There's a couple 45-point differences. I don't think there's any chance we lose the game. I think that it plays out, the way you guys just said. So
no injuries. Just hope for no injuries, right? And no George Pickens face planting some guy into the wall and have to sit out the first half of this championship game.
That's a good call as well. Laurence, we teed you up for a very important sucker bet selection last week. It was do or die. You had the whole board to choose from. You went with a prior winner of the Jimbo of the Week award and Cristobal. You did it to yourself, bro.
5-8. To the point where when I start to look back at the sucker bet, I'm starting to realize, hey, maybe I'm the sucker here, guys. But I will tell you, there's a lot of other handicappers and pickers out there that are having worse seasons than I am right now. Gans's boy Stanford Steve is horrible. Clay Travis is currently 67-79 on the season. Picking games just isn't easy. However, gamblers never say die. So we're going to go right back at it. I got a fun one this week. We're going to throw a Hail Mary out here, Josh. I think you're going to like it. So I was looking at the board this morning, Ohio State, a lot of people are on them getting points. I'm going to stay away from that one. Florida State without a quarterback is minus a touchdown, but Florida's also without a quarterback. So I'm staying away from that one. Quite frankly, I think we broke Tennessee. Like, I just don't think they're going to give a shit going playing Vanderbilt, because Vanderbilt stinks and they're laying a big number. But I'm going to stay away from that one. Where I'm going with the sucker bet is our friends out in Vegas have set the over-under so low for Iowa, Nebraska. It is currently 26.5 points. That is such a sucker line to take the over on that game that I'm taking the under.
I like it. I can get on board with that.
I think it's going to be like 12-10, 12-9.
Yeah, it may be 3-2.
True.
And for our good friend Garrett Nail, who we spent probably 2 or 3 days discussing what the actual sucker bet means and how to arrive at it, I think that this is a good explanation for him to hear, and others that question it. Who would ever take the under on 26.5? Well, that's why you take it, right, Laurence? My question is, much like being on the 14th or 15th hole on a golf round when you're getting smoked by the bet and you try to press. Can you press? Can you do something to get yourself back to at least 500? You're 5-8. I'll give you the ability to make 2 selections if you so choose, although you've got to suffer the consequences if you end up losing big.
I think what we'll do, here's what I'd like to do, because I'm not prepared to go and put my money where my mouth is on another game. But during bowl season, maybe we could have a couple different picks during bowl season to try and get back. But I think we have an opportunity between rivalry week, championship week, bowl week. The playoffs are going to be tough. We'll have to see how the lines shake out there. But I do think we can get back to at least 500. I know I got to get to 55% for it technically to be a winner. But we're going to go one game at a time here, Josh.
Let me give you something here. Bowls are bullshit. They're really hard to handicap. So there could be a ton of suckers. There could be none. And half the time the players don't show up to play unless you're in a New Year's Six bowl or the playoffs. Why don't you prepare for next week and come up with a line or come up with a bet on every conference of the Power 5 conference champions. Come up with something there.
We will make it happen, Jason. Anything for you, buddy.
Challenge issued. All right, I've got on this outline Jimbo of the Week, question mark. I'm going to defer to you, my friend. If you want to carry it on, if you want to retire it, if you want to do something different, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this a good bit, and I think probably the best thing to do is just let's run him out through the end of the season, and then we'll have a proper funeral for him. Maybe on next week's cast. I haven't put a ton of work into it because he's kind of taken the wind out of my sails. Mission accomplished, right? We got to where we needed to be. But this week we're just going to go ahead and give it to Brian Harsin for losing at home by 3 touchdowns to a team you paid $1.8 million to. Not Brian Harsin. Oh my God!
I was about to give you the Jimbo of the Week for not knowing who Auburn's coach is.
Hugh Freeze. Sorry. I mean, is there really any difference? And losing by 21 points. The best part of that whole game is that Auburn fans and their message boards, they were pissed off that Jerry Kill scored another touchdown with 2 minutes left in the game to take it up 21 points. So Hugh Freeze, you're the Jimbo of the Week. And I'll have something, a eulogy prepared for Jimbo next week.
I love it. All right, gentlemen. Like I said, Thanksgiving week. It is Tuesday. Any traditions y'all look forward to with the family? Any special menu item, side item? Where do you turn?
I feel like this is you, Larry, talking about food.
Larry likes buns. He likes buns.
This will be year 2 of Thanksgiving up at Lake Hartwell. I will throw the bird on the Brinkman smoker. I'm going to cover it with some Meat Church. Our friends at Meat Church with some rub, a good helping of butter, and I will consume some bourbons while I'm out there. I love Thanksgiving. I think it's just a day to sit around, eat, drink, watch football, go to bed early, and just enjoy some downtime. So no major traditions. I will tell you though, I think there are a few of the Thanksgiving menu items that can be a little bit overrated. Not a huge fan of stuffing. I do like sweet potato casserole and the green bean casserole and all the accoutrements that come with that. But it is a good day just to consume lots and lots of calories.
Yeah, I'm not so much into the food as much. I like sort of the plain staples. We do a nice cocktail hour, which starts at 1:30 and ends when the last person passes out at night. But we'll have some really nice wine consumed. We're hosting at our house, which we've been doing the past 4 or 5 years. I think we have 25 people coming over. So the recycling bin will be, rocking and rolling the next day with all the empty soldiers in there. But 1:30, 1 to 1:30 cocktails begin, and then dinner at 3 o'clock. I'll probably take a nap sometime in the afternoon, and then wake up to the egg bowl at night.
You going to fry your bird, roast your bird, cater the whole thing?
We're not catering. My wife, her twin sister, and my brother-in-law tend to be the cooks, and then everyone kind of brings a side or something like that. I don't concern myself with that, Larry. I'm the sommelier for the day. I've got some nice wines picked out. I'll let them breathe in the cellar in the morning, and then we'll bring them up and we'll pour. We also just bought a fresh bottle of Jameson for Irish coffees later in the evening.
So one of my favorite Thanksgiving traditions, Jason, we used to do and don't do it anymore, was running the half marathon on Thanksgiving morning. We did that for probably 5 or 6 years, and I love starting off Thanksgiving Day that way, getting a 13.1 mile run in, and then going over Jason Mullins and have some whisks and get lubed up for the day. I'll be honest, my body can't handle that anymore. I would love to be able to do it. Jason and Stephen Altman are running it on Thursday. Kudos to them. Maybe next year we'll get back to the place where we can, because I do miss that. But we fried the turkey. I've replaced running with playing golf on Thursday morning. Indian Hills is open, so walk out my back door and go do the loop and catch the many holes as I can to get the body ready to rock and roll. But I'm with you guys, love it all. I call what you call stuffing, I call dressing, Laurence. I don't know if that's a regional thing or a family thing or what, but I call it dressing. And
we grew up 2 minutes from each other.
and I happen to like it. So I can't get on board with you. I like the cranberry sauce too, not out of the can. My mom makes it special. So again, feed me.
Jason Mullen, one year when we did that run, which was a blast, and he was very hospitable, would host us at his house afterwards, or just condo for cocktails. And this is one of my favorite Thanksgiving stories. Jason decided he was going to London that evening. And being the sweetheart that he is, he had to meet his mom for Thanksgiving dinner before, going across the pond. So him and his mom went to Waffle House for Thanksgiving dinner. Then he went straight to the airport and flew to London. So that was fantastic. By the way, I think he was drunk too when he did it.
I think that was a couple of years running. I think that he did it one year. Like, this is kind of cool. And they just made it a thing for a few years. I don't know.
After like eight whiskeys and 13.5 miles.
Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for joining us. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving week. Enjoy Rivalry weekend. We'll see y'all next week to recap Georgia kicking the crap out of Georgia Tech, and hopefully have a little more clarity about how this top 4 is going to shake out. So catch y'all later. Thanks for listening. As always, go Dogs and keep chopping.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
I bark at people.